Hello everybody, it's Peter again. Peter Beresford from Shaping Our Lives. Shaping Our Lives, the National Independent Disabled Peoples and Service Users Organisation and Network. And today is the 6th of our new series of videos, DVDs, around user involvement. Now this one's unusual. This is the first of its kind in the sense that today I'm going to have two parts to this DVD video, parts 1 and 2. So it's the 6th one, but it's in two parts, and there's a reason for this. Because today what we're focusing on is user involvement in professional, occupational learning, training, education, and that's a really big issue. And I don't think we can do that really justice in one session. So there's going to be two, and they'll be in two distinct parts. One setting out some issues, and then the other one offering a discussion of a really helpful way forward in understanding user involvement in professional, occupational learning and education. Now, service users have for a long time argued the importance of this development of user involvement in education and training. And they've said, and it's a great quote, they've said, I've listened to people say this, that what it can do is change the culture of professional work, of the practice that people as service users receive. Now that's an almighty big claim, so we need to inspect it very, very carefully. But they are saying that you can change the culture of work, of helping workers, social workers and other professional workers, but it really had its origins, I think, in social work, working with people, with us as service users. Now you could ask, why is that really necessary? So let's go back a little bit and look at the traditional strands that form the basis of professional learning and education. And they've tended to be two things. Firstly, people would be socialised into a job, learn how to do a job by learning from people who've done it before. And they particularly would do this in the classroom, more and more in the classroom, with academic qualifications. But there'd also be a practice bit, that's to say somewhere in what people call the field, working with people, where people learning to become professionals, perhaps on wards or in placements as social workers and occupational therapists and the rest, would work with people. Now that seems pretty good to me. You know, you're going to get a lot of learning from people who've done it for a long time. And you're going to get a lot of learning out of books and texts and journal articles. Of course, there'll be those naysayers who say, well, if you learn it from people who did it before, then you'll be stuck with the same old ways of doing it. And that's quite a narrow range of people who were those professionals. Also, you know, books isn't quite the same thing as real life, they'll say. So why are you leaving out other elements? And particularly they'll say, why are you leaving out the knowledge that comes from lived experience that people as service users have got? Well, you may think that they have a point here. But anyway, certainly that's what service users and service user organisations have been arguing for a long time. They've said, we want to be involved in the learning and the training that professionals who work with us get. They say if you don't do that, the only things they'll know about us is when they see us in real difficulties or in trouble or having a very bad time, and they'll form a very unreal perception of us. They'll see us as in crisis always, as incompetent or as vulnerable, and that's not very helpful. Well, take your pick on that one. I mean, perhaps you might argue that professionals only have to intervene because people are all those things. But we'll take that as given for the moment, that these people as service users have something to offer. That's certainly the argument that they've come with. And they say, if you let us be part of the training, then it will be better, more relevant and more useful training. They also say that what you should do is help us as trainers get training ourselves. You must stop thinking about people as two groups of people. The vulnerable who need help, the invulnerable perhaps who provide it. Well, that is a real shift from the past, isn't it? And it's a very radical departure. But the aim of these videos, as you know, is to try and listen to what people say in a fair and reasonable way. Because I'm very reluctant to put down the value of book learning and passed on practice, experience and expertise that people as professionals have got. Okay, you can argue that a lot of the people doing the teaching, it's a long time since they've actually practiced, and that can be true. But I still think that the old ways must have merits, else we'd never have done them, would we? However, the view continues from service users that we really ought to be doing it beyond books and texts, and beyond just seeing people when they need help. People feel they've got something to contribute. People feel that with training for the user trainers, particularly training which is by other service users, that they will make things a lot better. Now, of course, there are different ways of doing this. I can see a real role for people as service users to come into the classroom and tell their sad stories. I mean, we know that that often happens. Oh, I've had a terrible time, it's been awful. However, the services really helped me and I'm a better person. I was hopeless, useless and a mess, and then along came services and it got better. We hear those sort of stories, don't we, in the field of recovery a lot. And you can see then, I suppose I have to admit, that there is a real role for user involvement. Perhaps at that level of telling people just how awful their lives are and the problems and inadequacies that they face, and how helpful traditional professionals can be. So obviously there is a role for service user involvement here, but we may not share the same idea about what that role is. But anyway, I think we're seeing a beginning of a shift from the past. Whichever way we come at it, whether we see service users as having their own expertise, being able to do a lot more than just tell sad stories, but we can see that there's now a break in the tradition that we don't need to hear from service users, except about their problems and difficulties, which we, as professionals, can then put right. So that's the first message I wanted to get across. That there seems to be some change taking place. It can mean all sorts of things. I know there are service users who feel that they should receive their expenses very quickly, service users who feel they should be paid for their input. Others might say it's great for them to be given this lovely chance to be in the classroom and helping the rest of us. But anyway, it seems that we're moving on. And that's where I want to stop today, and then we will move on in part 2 of this particular DVD, number 6, to a particular way of understanding and taking this forward, which may give us all some real illumination. So thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you found this helpful. That's the aim.